Tonight, Donald Trump sharpens his attacks on Canada, this time on the world stage.
Canada has been very tough to deal with.
How he's demanding even more defense spending, the reaction to his amplified threats.
Canada will have a strong, robust response.
And which presidential order has suffered a legal setback. Deadline day for the race to enter the federal Liberal leadership race, the next steps, and when Ontario voters head to the polls. The drug organized crime groups are making more of to meet soaring demand. What we are learning about the shocking shootout at a birthday celebration in Toronto. And controversy as the Oscar nominations come out.
Obviously, it means the world to have our film recognized in this way.
Could artificial intelligence impact who wins? And a look at the Canadian contenders.
CTV National News with Omar Sachedina.
Good evening. Donald Trump wasn't there in person, but his words echoed around the world. The U.S. president putting Canada in his crosshairs in the first major international address of his second term. The attacks directed not only at trade, but defense spending. CTV's Judy Trin on the speech and the reaction here at home.
Hello.
Appearing virtually at the World Economic Forum, President Donald Trump amplified his threat of a trade war with Canada.
We don't need them to make our cars, and they make a lot of them. We don't need their lumber because we have our own forests, et cetera, et cetera. We don't need their oil and gas.
25% tariffs could be imposed as soon as February 1st, but Trump repeated his offer for a way out.
I say you can always become a state. And if you're a state, we won't have a deficit. We won't have to tariff you.
Unacceptable to the Prime Minister.
One goal, not to figure out how to manage these tariffs and live with them over the long term, but to figure out how to get them removed as quickly as possible.
That strategy also includes reaching the NATO 2% spending target during Trump's term, instead of the 2032 timeline the government had previously set. Canada buys 70% of its defense equipment from the Americans and could buy more.
We think that because of the investments that we're going to have to make over the next 4 or 5 years in national defense, it is going to give us an opportunity to do business with Americans where it makes sense for Canadians.
But Trump is moving the bar again.
I'm also going to ask all NATO nations to increase defense spending to 5% of GDP, which is what it should have been years ago.
None of NATO's 32 members are close to reaching that number. At the top of the list, Poland contributes just over 4%. The U.S. is at 3.38%, while Canada is spending 1.37% of its GDP, or $41 billion a year. For Canada to get to 5% would require spending $150 billion annually.
Currently, we are vastly over-reliant on the American military.
This analyst says Trump is banking on a win.
Even if you buy, in some cases, European-made planes or army equipment, it's got American gear in it. So any level of increased spending at anywhere in the alliance has some benefit to the United States.
Canada's inability to meet its military targets has been a trade irritant with the U.S. for years. Now it's become a gaping wound in a looming trade war. Omar.
All right, Judy, thank you. And Trump is preparing for a new legal battle tonight after a judge temporarily blocked his executive order to end birthright citizenship in the U.S., protected in the U.S. Constitution, which can only be changed by an act of Congress. But the block only lasts for 14 days and is still scheduled to go into effect mid-February. CTV's Washington Bureau Chief Joy Melvin on why the fight could take years to settle.
Birthright.
Signing a blitz of executive actions, Donald Trump faced his first court challenge as president. As part of his immigration crackdown, Trump signed an order to end a century-old right, giving American citizenship to children born to undocumented parents. Trump says the 14th Amendment, giving automatic citizenship, has been misinterpreted and abused by parents who are in the U.S. illegally. But a federal judge in Seattle temporarily blocked the president's order, calling it blatantly unconstitutional. It boggles my mind.
I was not surprised to see Judge Kuhnauer sort of dismiss the absurdity of the the order and the absurdity of the president's action. The United States government can take no further action implementing or enforcing this order.
Not so fast, says Trump, who expected the legal challenge.
We'll appeal it. They put it before a certain judge in Seattle, I guess, right? And there's no surprises with that judge.
That judge, appointed by Republican President Ronald Reagan. The legal showdown comes as the president's promised raids of undocumented migrants gets underway, allowing arrests in schools and churches, once considered sanctuaries, all of it putting immigration communities on edge.
If they show up at our door here on any given Sunday, and we pray that that never happens, but if they do, we would ask them for a warrant.
The president declared a national emergency to deal with illegal immigration. 1,500 active duty troops now arriving in a show of force to seal the southern border.
You will be returned home, you will be arrested, you will be prosecuted. Do not come.
Trump is determined to keep his campaign promises. The first blow to his executive order on birthright citizenship will likely end up in the Supreme Court. Joy Malvin, CTV News, Washington.
And Donald Trump is a key item on the agenda at a meeting of the federal Liberal caucus in Ottawa. Another, the race to replace Justin Trudeau. 7 leadership hopefuls officially submitted their nomination papers before today's deadline. CTV's Michael Couture on who has the early edge.
In a display of his growing support, Mark Carney held a meet and greet in Ottawa as the deadline to enter the Liberal Party leadership race came to a close.
We can put this economy back on track. As a team, it's not just about me, it's very much as a team.
That team behind Carney is growing. CTV News has confirmed cabinet minister and one key Quebec organizer, François-Philippe Champagne, is ready to endorse Mark Carney this weekend, although he played coy today.
Wait until the end of the week, I would say, but someone who shares my vision, of an ambitious Canada, of a confident Canada, of a prosperous Canada.
While Carney adds cabinet ministers to his team, Chrystia Freeland is doing the same, arriving at the caucus retreat, flanked by 2 of them.
For me, a huge emphasis is going to be reviving the party.
Other contenders believe that revival begins with them. Jaime Battiste kicked off his campaign hoping to be the first Indigenous Prime Minister of Canada, and Karina Gould finalized her paperwork, promising to be more in touch with Canadians.
I think we have to be honest about the fact that Canadians have lost trust in our party. And part of it is because I don't think we responded to the issues that they were telling us mattered to them.
That admission comes as contenders lay out positions contradicting current party policy. Freeland has said she would scrap the consumer carbon tax and roll back changes to the capital gains inclusion rate, 2 initiatives she defended as finance minister.
There's no flip-flopping here. It's purely an evolution in a positive direction. I'm quite happy about it.
The Liberal Party says it'll take 10 days to verify all of their applications before declaring them candidates. And the deadline for Liberal supporters to register so they can vote for the next leader is next Monday. Omar?
All right, Mike, thanks. Another day to watch out for, especially if you're in Ontario, is next Wednesday. CTV News has confirmed that's when a provincial election will be called, with voters expected to head to the polls on February 27th. Doug Ford's party is planning a caucus meeting this Saturday. Ford says he needs a mandate in case he has to spend billions fighting U.S. tariffs. The Supreme Court of Canada will hear an appeal of Quebec's controversial Bill 21, which bans civil servants in positions of authority, including teachers and police officers, from wearing religious symbols.
In reality, it's a law, a populist law, designed to capitalize on popular feelings of angst surrounding religious minorities, particularly women in hijab. It's a law that divides society.
The law was passed in 2019, and opponents have been fighting against it ever since. The Quebec government has long argued the law is reasonable, and the province's justice minister has said he will vigorously defend it. Dramatic new video tonight of the moments leading up to a brazen gun battle in Toronto. Police say the suspects treated guns like toys and lives like afterthoughts, and revealing that all 16 firearms seized have been traced back to the United States. CTV's Janice Golding with a surprising number of arrests and charges.
This was a group of individuals who seemed alarmingly comfortable not only carrying illegal firearms, but also treating them like props at a party.
Inspector Paul Krawchuk shows the media shocking video from inside a Queen West recording studio in the lead up to a gunfight.
It's brazen. Guns treated like toys and lives treated as afterthoughts.
A birthday celebration that would end with the exchange of nearly 100 bullets. Police caught in the crossfire between two rival gangs.
That incident was an audacious, reckless, dangerous exchange of gunfire. It is nothing short of a miracle that no one was injured or killed.
The police footage, a compilation of surveillance and cell phone video.
It's ridiculously surprising. Wow, I'm blown away, really. I've never seen something like that, and I wouldn't imagine around here. I've lived in this area for over 30 years.
Kind of looks like kids playing around, doesn't it? Yeah, it's pretty outrageous, to be honest.
Police say it was 11:20 p.m. on November the 11th. Plainclothes officers were conducting an investigation outside the recording studio when three males got out of a stolen vehicle and fired on the building.
I saw about 6 of them, a group of them running.
Partygoers returned fire and the original shooters took cover behind an occupied but unmarked police vehicle which was struck several times.
I want to take this opportunity to recognize the officers who bravely ran towards the gunfire that night. Think about that for a moment. They ran towards the gunfire.
Police say as the original suspects tried to flee the scene, their stolen car was hit and disabled by another unmarked police vehicle, and 3 suspects fled on foot. Initially, 23 people were arrested, 8 people were charged, and 16 firearms seized. Today, police announced an additional 14 arrests and 105 charges have been laid.
Janice Golding, CTV News.
In San Antonio, Texas, 7 police officers are recovering after being shot in an hours-long standoff. Officers say they responded to a call from a family member of the suspect who said there was a suicide in progress. When they arrived, they say 46-year-old Brendan Scott Poulos opened fire. The officers suffered non-life-threatening injuries. Poulos was later found dead. Not clear whether he shot himself or was killed by police. New warnings tonight of the growing influence of organized crime in producing and trafficking fentanyl, which the U.S. president claims is crossing the border, fueling the opioid crisis. CTV's Adrian Gobriel has this reality check.
On the street, some users call it dragon's breath for its deadly potency.
People, in terms of illicit drugs, are always looking to get more bang for the buck, if you will, more high for the dollar. And fentanyl gives you that.
And it appears that more criminals than ever on Canadian soil are now producing fentanyl to keep pace with domestic and international demand. Criminal Intelligence Service Canada are reporting the number of organized crime groups involved in manufacturing illegal drugs, including fentanyl, has doubled from 51 in 2023 to 99 in 2024. It's a lucrative business model for criminal organizations.
Making 1 kilogram of fentanyl costs $1,300, generating profits between $5 to $15 million.
The drug is also estimated to now kill approximately 80,000 people a year across North America. Recently, U.S. President Donald Trump blamed Canada, in part, for the crisis.
The fentanyl coming through Canada is massive.
Though the VP of Intelligence for the Canada Border Service Agency has said that Canada is not a significant source of fentanyl in the United States. In 2024, 4.9 kilos of fentanyl was seized at border crossings by CBSA officers. The only large shipment that was caught was going to the Netherlands, not the U.S., though that doesn't mean fentanyl isn't being shipped out of Canada to other countries. In October, the RCMP busted this super lab north of Kamloops with enough product on site to produce up to 95 million doses of fentanyl. It's believed that the majority of the chemicals used to make fentanyl are being imported from China, many of which aren't even illegal.
90% of the chemicals used to make fentanyl are unregulated and legally available.
Those closely monitoring the international drug trade say any claims from the White House that Canada is flooding the United States with fentanyl are likely false, noting that the cartels in Mexico have a near monopoly on the shipment of synthetic drugs into the U.S. Omar.
All right, Adrian, thank you. Purdue Pharma, the maker of OxyContin, and the Sackler family, who own the company, have agreed to pay up to $7.4 billion U.S. to settle lawsuits in multiple states, a $1 billion increase from the original offer.
What I've said many times is they had the opportunity then to help put out a fire that they started, and instead they poured gasoline on it.
The lawsuits against the opioid maker claimed that it aggressively marketed the drug for decades and downplayed its risks, leading to waves of addictions and deaths. Under the new proposal, the family would give up ownership of Purdue and contribute $6.5 billion over 15 years, the rest paid by the company. Coming up.
Emotionally exhausting, physically exhausting, and just tough.
Fire crews near Los Angeles take on a new fight. Plus, an old flashpoint reemerges as the Oscar nominations are released. Explosive new wildfires near Los Angeles have forced tens of thousands of residents from their homes. Exhausted firefighters, with help from Canadian crews, are battling the flames. But as CTV's Andrew Johnson reports, there is some good weather on the horizon.
In the critical early minutes, fire crews in Southern California contained new flames this morning north of Los Angeles. This is at least the third new fire in just 24 hours. The largest forced the hasty evacuation of this high school, along with tens of thousands of homes, 70 kilometers north of downtown LA.
We have the fire burning, the high rate of speed.
The Hughes fire started Wednesday morning, quickly growing to 40 square kilometers.
We have approximately 31,000 people who are affected by our evacuation orders.
More than 30,000 on the run, another 20,000 warned to be ready in a region that's now being ravaged for weeks.
I was really scared because I thought I was going to get really hurt.
It's emotionally exhausting, physically exhausting, and just tough.
Another fire started overnight near Bel Air, climbing the hill near the freeway, feasting on bone-dry brush. Hundreds of firefighters jumped on it, helped for once by the Santa Ana winds blowing against the flames. The latest race to douse flames and save lives in Southern California again involves Canadian crews, Quebec pilots in Super Scooper planes, and crews from British Columbia-based Coulson Aviation.
We got on the fire relatively early with multiple air tankers and multiple helicopters.
The first rain in months could fall on Southern California by the weekend, but in heavily burned areas, that could trigger mudslides and flooding. Andrew Johnson, CTV News.
And from fire to ice, the world's biggest iceberg is on a collision course with an island in the South Atlantic. The so-called megaberg, known as A23A, is about the size of Rhode Island and is now heading towards the British territory of South Georgia, potentially putting penguins and seals in danger. It is currently less than 280 kilometers away. Still ahead, sticker shock. How much more could you be paying for a Tesla in Canada? U.S. President Donald Trump is taking steps to make public long classified documents surrounding a trio of high-profile assassinations. Trump has signed an executive order declassifying government records on the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. It calls for him to be presented with a plan for their release within 15 days. And within 30 days after that, he wants a plan for documents related to the killings of civil rights leader Martin Luther King Jr. and JFK's brother, Robert F. Kennedy. The price of a Tesla is going up in this country, and it will happen on the same day Trump suggested he'll impose sweeping tariffs on Canada. Starting February 1st, its least expensive car, the Model 3, will go up by $9,000. Other models will increase by up to $4,000. The company, co-founded by Trump ally and CEO Elon Musk, hasn't said why it's raising prices. And Raising Spirits, a song by the late Tina Turner that was presumed lost, has been found. The The song is called Hot For You Baby and was meant to be included on her career-defining 1984 album, Private Dancer. It was played for the first time this morning on BBC Radio. The track will be featured on the forthcoming 40th anniversary edition of the album, which comes out in March. Tina Turner died in 2023 after a long illness. Still ahead, the Canadians up for an Academy Award. Well, the Oscar nominations have been announced after being postponed due to the California wildfires, and musicals led the way, and some Canadians made the cut. CTV's Kathy Lee has the snubs, the surprises, and the controversy.
I felt dirty as Indian.
Canada's dark past is present in Sugarcane, up for Best Documentary at the Oscars.
It means the world to have our film recognized in this way, and most importantly, to have this story seen by the Academy and hopefully by audiences far and wide.
We see the impacts in our community every single day.
The film investigates abuse and missing children at a residential school in British Columbia.
This is a moment of reckoning, and we feel so lucky that Sugarcane is part of this movement towards truth.
It's such a well-made film. It's such an important topic, and that's always a consideration for the Academy.
Another Canadian also made the ballot for the costume designs in vampire film Nosferatu.
It's absolutely fabulous. It's sort of like a huge kiss to everyone in the costume department.
Amelia Perez.
Amelia Perez.
Amelia Perez.
13 nominations puts Amelia Perez at the front of the pack. The Drug Kingpin musical is up for Best Picture and Best Actress for Carla Sofia Gascon, a first for an openly trans actor. The film under scrutiny for using AI to increase Gascon's singing voice, as well as The Brutalist, a story about the immigrant experience. The film used AI to enhance the Hungarian accents of the two leads, including Adrian Brody, who is of Hungarian descent.
Is it going to hurt their chances at winning Oscars? To be honest with you, I don't think so.
The use of AI is nothing new, also used to alter the voice of a young Luke Skywalker in The Mandalorian.
The date for announcing these nominations was pushed twice due to the LA wildfires. The Academy plans to give a nod to those on the front lines fighting them at the Oscars ceremony. Kathy Lee, CTV News, Calgary.
And the awards on March 2nd, right here on CTV. That's a snapshot of this Thursday. Heather Butts is here tomorrow. For all of us at CTV National News, thanks for watching, and good night.
CTV National News, Canada's #1 newscast.